I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today. This is the year-end edition of Capitol Download. We launched this weekly video series in January at the White House. Since then, we've covered a lot of ground. This is the inaugural edition of Capitol Download. We're at the White House with David Plouffe, Senior Advisor to President Obama. We're at the South Carolina State House with the Governor, Nikki Haley. We're joined today by former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. We're at the Department of Homeland Security with Secretary Janet Napolitano. We're in Philadelphia with Vicki Kennedy. We're at the Maryland Governor's Mansion with Governor Martin O'Malley. We're in the White House complex in the historic Secretary of War chambers with Valerie Jarrett, Senior Advisor to President Obama. We're at the headquarters of the AFL-CIO with President Richard Trumka. We're at the Israeli Embassy to talk with the Israeli Ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. We're in Asheville, North Carolina with Sarah Palin. 1 year down, here are 10 of our favorite moments from Capitol Download 2013. We've broken some news. As the debate over gun control raged on Capitol Hill, the president of the National Rifle Association predicted the NRA would win against universal background checks. Will the NRA say, no, we would encourage members of Congress to vote against this for the reason?
If it came up today, yes.
What are the odds that gets through Congress this year?
That has a better chance because
a good
it
chance,
sounds
you think?
reasonable.
Better than 50-50, do you think?
I don't think so. But it has a better chance because it sounds reasonable, and we'll have to see what it actually means when legislation is developed.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul said for the first time that he would filibuster the nomination of John Brennan to head the CIA.
I'm holding up and today announcing that I'm going to hold up John Brennan's nomination because he was asked a very specific question by Senator Wyden. Can you kill an American with a drone in America? And he refused to answer the question.
So you're going to put a hold on his nomination?
Absolutely.
And if need be, would you try to filibuster it?
We're going to do whatever it takes to get the answer.
The chairman of the Republican National Committee got some flack from his own party with a call for tolerance on same-sex marriage.
My position is that marriage is between a man and a woman, but my other position is also that you treat people with dignity and respect and love and grace. And so I think they're all compatible with each other. I don't believe that, I don't believe we need to act like, Old Testament heretics either. And so
what does that mean? Not act like Old Testament heretics.
I think you know it when you see it. I think that you have to strike a balance between principle and grace and respect, and that's what I'm just trying to do.
And Nancy Pelosi told us that there was an emerging consensus on the party's presidential nominee in 2016. Do you think that your party is now coalescing behind a woman, Hillary Clinton, to be the presidential nominee in 2016?
I think so. I think so. There's a great deal of excitement about the prospect that she would run. We don't understand why she wouldn't. If Hillary Clinton Secretary Clinton were to run, and we think if she ran, she would win, I believe that she would be the best prepared person to enter the White House in decades. In decades. With all due respect to her husband, present company, and other presidents. She was the First Lady of the United States. That counts for something. It counts for a lot. But in her own absolute own right, a senator from the great state of New York, the Secretary of State, experience in foreign policy, armed services. She was on the Armed Forces Committee in the Senate. So to be Commander-in-Chief, she's well prepared. She understands the strength of our country as defined by the health and well-being of the American people. She'd be just great.
Who else is running for president in 2016? That's our fifth highlight. We've asked prospects from both parties.
Oh, I don't think so, and I'm not interested in national office. I'm no spring chicken. I'm not sure that, I think the public might decide to put me out to pasture after I finish the second term.
I love my job right now. This is what I'm doing.
Well, I haven't ruled anything out. Throughout my time in public service, I've tried to focus on more on what we were going to do and not the length of time that I've served.
We're thinking about it.
Let's give Senator Paul points for candor. We talked with the president of the World Bank about the 50th anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination and what JFK had meant to his Korean family.
Literally the first week that we were living in Dallas in the United States, we visited the place where John F. Kennedy was shot, the grassy knoll. And I remember because both my mother and father were very emotional about it because he meant something even to this couple living in Korea with their 3 young children.
We heard Myrlie Evers recall the 1963 assassination of her husband, civil rights leader Medgar Evers.
They still remember the sound of the gunfire. They still remember seeing their father at the doorstep with his keys, with his back blown out. They still remember my screams. I had a chance to see the rifle that killed Medgar. I walked in that room, and there was that rifle encased in the plexiglass. And I stopped cold. All kinds of emotion ran through me. One was hate. That was a weapon that took my husband from me and my children's father from them. And then there was the next mental rollover, and I focused on the trigger. It was evil in my eye at that moment. Something made my eye follow the rifle to the end, where the fire came out that took Medgar's life. And I could see his body sprawled there with this massive hole in his back. And I felt the heat in my chest that represented the strong emotions that I had, but something happened and it changed my vision of that rifle. It took his life, and that fire that came out of the barrel represented freedom. Freedom for Medgar in the sense that he did not have to struggle anymore. He did what he knew he had to do, and his death helped to move this country forward.
Kenneth Feinberg discussed his job of distributing contributions after the nation's biggest tragedies, including the Boston Marathon bombing.
You don't expect thank you. I don't expect it. I don't expect anybody to talk about fairness or justice when they've lost limbs, lost loved ones, had their life completely turned asunder. The idea that anybody receives money and believes that justice has been done or they've been treated fairly, I would be shocked if anybody felt that way.
On a happier occasion, we went to the White House garden with White House chef Sam Cass. We're here in the White House garden, the first big vegetable garden at the White House since Eleanor Roosevelt's Victory Garden. How much does it produce? How much food does it produce?
It varies a little bit, but we're in and around 1,000 pounds a year of produce. We give about a third of it away to a local soup kitchen, Miriam's Kitchen, which cooks healthy food for those in greatest need. But we'll use it for state dinners or official lunches, and then the rest. I cook with it for the first family every night.
Is there ever a dessert?
Dessert is only on the weekends, Fridays and Saturdays.
And what's the favorite dessert?
Definitely pie. No question about it.
Finally, our 10th and final highlight of 2013. On our special 4th of July edition of Capitol Download, we inadvertently stumped the National Archivist. So name the 6 founding fathers for us.
Oh my God. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, James Monroe, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson. How many is that?
That's 5.
Benjamin Franklin.
Hamilton?
Alexander Hamilton. Oh, Lord. Yes, Alexander Hamilton.
I didn't actually mean that to be a stump the guest kind of question.
It shouldn't have been.
We'll be back in January with the 2014 edition of Capitol Download. We hope you'll join us then.